Hi, everybody. I'm Jamie Doran. I'm representing Georgian College. I'm here with my colleague, Rob. I am also the project lead for this project, and it's a multi-component project, and I'm going to talk to you about one of the pieces of it today, which is about the virtual reality and anatomy study that we did. So I just want to tell you a little bit, or first of all, our team here. So I mentioned myself, but Isabel Deschamps, she's our lead researcher. She wasn't able to come, so they asked me, hey, Jamie, do you want to go to California and present the research? I was like, yes, please. And then we have two of our faculty members on there, Sean Doran and Avinash Thadani, and then Rob is over here, who is speaking tomorrow or the day after, so you can hear him. But just want to point out something about Georgian. Georgian, we have a big grassroots movement around immersive VR use and XR in general. So just some examples of things that have gone on over the last 2 or 3 years here. VR used in 20 programs, and there's a ton happening. We've been using the iLRN virtual campus, and we used that for 2 years during COVID. We had meetings in there, conferences in there. I think about 1,000 of our people accessed the campus at any point in time. They weren't all in there at once, but lots going on. So we had some money that we got from Future Skills Center Canada, and we actually got $1 million from them, and we got $1 million from the college to do a immersive learning study. And so it kind of focused on these things here, like the demands for these higher order skills from our students, because COVID was on, students are going to need all these skills to be successful. And we drilled down to take a look at a few things. So we have 3 pilots that are going on right now, and the pilots are actually ending as of September 30th of this year. And I'm going to talk to you mostly about what we call pilot 2. But pilot 1 was really about like what happens if we deploy a whole bunch of XR to the college and try to get as many people using this as possible, thinking that the more they get exposed to it, the more comfortable they're going to get with it. And then maybe then our students and our faculty are going to be more open to using them in the classroom. And then so that's the college level, right? Try to do as much as possible across college. Then pilot 2 is department level, and we focused in on the health and wellness department. The third pilot was at the course level, pick a single course, do something with that course to measure the students to see if we can keep them more engaged. And so that one is around a communications course. So I want to talk to you about the pilot 2. So pilot 2 was really about efficacy of using virtual reality to teach anatomy. And I'm not sure if any of you how many of you have taken an anatomy course before? So it's not a simple course, and the more hands-on you are, the better. And so it's difficult if you're just learning from textbooks and stuff. So we took a look at what's been done in the literature and who's doing IVR learning for this kind of subject matter. So first of all, it's becoming more popular because the graphics are getting better, the devices are cheaper, and people are looking for those remote learning options. But studying the usage of the technology is really tough. First of all, running a controlled study like you would do in a normal scientific study, that's pretty hard because you have students in a course. You can't say half of you are learning this way and half of you are learning with the VR. It has to be equitable, so everybody has to have a choice. So then there's in the studies, there's like single experiences versus long-term experiences. That's really important. Most people do short single experiences. Might be application dependent, right? So if I study one application, which I'm going to show you later, is it really only the results only relevant to that particular application? There's this whole idea of the pre and post studies, the multiple choice studies. How useful are the results that come out of those studies? Does it actually show you whether or not the IVR is a better way to learn or not? And then retention time and the rapidly changing technology means that studies from the past, like the very first virtual reality device out there, does anyone remember the nickname of it? It's from the 60s.
Sort of Panacles.
Okay, you win a beer later. So they changed a lot over time. So I'm a person who's not an expert in everything that's been done in IVR research, so I had to do a little bit of catching up. So I put this cheat sheet together of what I feel like is where we're at with all this general consensus. First of all, a lot of the studies are small sample sizes. Second, mixed subjects. So there's like children, there's adults, there's people who've used it before, people who haven't used it before. So it's very hard to get a consistent sample. Single exposure, short exposure. So they may be only using it for 15 minutes and then they're studying whether or not they learned something from it. And it might often be their first exposure. So, you know, what we really wanted to do was try to figure out whether or not this using the virtual reality anatomy was going to be effective for our students. So we didn't want to do any of those things. So as I mentioned, we're looking for the benefits and challenges of using IVR to teach anatomy. We did 2 different programs, 3D Organon and Body Map. We have 3 different groups. So group 1, they're the immersive group. So they were using 3D Organon with their Quest 2 headsets. Group 2 was using a 2D version of that program. And then we had a separate program, also an anatomy program called Body Map. I'm not sure if anyone's used it, but it doesn't have a desktop version, so it's just the immersive version. And then we kind of studied our groups there. So our objectives really, we're looking at motivation, enjoyment, and contact-based learning. That's what we're hoping to learn from these different groups. And the methods, you look at the samples here, you can see that the sample size is small, N21, for the students who participated in the in immersive and versus non-immersive. But keep in mind, what we really wanted to do is control the study as much as possible so that we could study the students as they go through over a long period of time. And accessing students to participate in a research study like this is very difficult. So it took us 2 years to even get 21 participants, okay? And on the right-hand side on this slide, you'll see what pictures the virtual lab. So the students who are participating in either one, the 2D or the 3D, get access to the virtual lab, kind of gives them instructions on what to do. And it gives them a list of tasks that they can do as they work through the content. And so they're doing this throughout their course. So you can see there's health, wellness, and science programs. There was nursing, paramedics, acupuncture, athletics, and massage therapy represented. So we looked at intrinsic motivation. This is the first thing we're trying to look at. Intrinsic motivation is broken down to 4 different factors: interest and enjoyment, perceived competence. So I should just really talk about each one. Interest and enjoyment, there's a quote there. You know, while I was working on the task, I was thinking about how much I enjoyed it. And perceived competence is like, I think I'm pretty good at this. I feel confident enough that I know it, I can do it. Perceived choice is that, they feel like they weren't pressured into doing the particular task, that they chose it themselves. And pressure and tension is like they're tense. Like, I don't like this. This is not working for me. So we measured each one of those against the 2 groups, immersive and non-immersive. So just go through, the student thoughts. This is just sort of the generic, how do you feel about it, broken into 3 different areas. Switch up. So let me talk about the results from the 3D Organon pilot. So you can see which students were participating here, the Nurses Bachelor Degree. And stuck with that. So these are what the students look like. So we have male and female students. There's the immersive and non-immersive. So you can see the color difference, the age range. So these are college students, typical college students. This is the look at their education level and ethnicity. So broad range across, but we've got Georgian has a high South Asian population, so we have quite a few of those. White North American. So now let's take a look at the results. So Mann-Whitney U-test was used, looking for a statistical difference between the 2 groups. So in terms of interest and enjoyment, there was a significant difference. So it's showing that the students who were using the immersive version of the program enjoyed it more than the ones who were using the non-immersive version. The second one, perceived competence, there was a statistical difference here as well. So the ones who used the VR felt like they knew the material and knew were confident in their abilities around the subject matter. Perceived choice, no difference here. So that just means, I felt it was my choice to do the task, no difference between the 2 groups, which is what we'd hope to see. And pressure and tension, I felt tense while doing it, no difference there. So what we did really see is that the students who were using the IVR were more engaged and excited about it. So what about the body map? This is the other program. So with body map, we are just starting to analyze the data. So at the moment, all we have is some of the anecdotal stuff that I can mention, but you can, same idea here with the virtual lab where students have a list of activities they're going to do in body map. Participants, more females in this one, in this study, age range about the same, and education and ethnicity about the same as before. But what are the students saying about using these programs? It was a great experience. So these are direct quotes from those students. And I want to continue this method in my other courses. You know, they're hoping they can use it in other programs. So that means that they're very positive and motivated to use it. Now I want to get into some of the conclusions. So what we found from those two studies were that the students using the IVR were more motivated to learn the material. So they're excited about it, about picking up the technology, getting to the next lesson, doing that kind of thing more so than those who use the 2D version, okay? But there's no difference between the perceived choice or the pressure or tension metrics. What we learned is that doing a study like this at a college is very difficult. As I mentioned, it took 2 years to get the number of participants as we got, but we learned a little bit about recruitment and motivation. So it's difficult to get it, but we gave the students the headsets to take home so they could have the headsets for the entire semester, which allowed them, you know, they could probably explore other VR apps and enjoy themselves there. Make it compulsory as a part of a course would be great. Have it tied to their grades so that participating in the activities is going to be tied to their grades, and that way the students will complete the task. We ran into issues with the pre-test. So the pre-tests were not compulsory, but we'd hope that all students would fill out the pre-test, which shows, you know, how much do you know about anatomy now versus after you've done the lessons. And so not all the students filled that out, which means that the pre and post can't be analyzed. So the correlation directly can't be analyzed. Duration, the long term was good over the semester. That was a good way because students get really comfortable with the technology, and that you can look at that sort of long-term retention. You could measure over the entire semester. And this is really important for, especially at our college, faculty, the faculty that we had participating. You can see the two nursing faculty that I mentioned earlier. They're champions. They love it. They want the students to try the technology, so they're promoting it. And that once a few faculty become interested in using it, becomes viral. So we started with the nursing faculty, but then it expanded to acupuncture, massage therapy, athletics, paramedics, and it's gone from there. So you get champions across the college. And you see, I was an executive at the college prior to what I'm doing now. And I was doing this study with the group because we were keen to try to show, you know, is this actually working? Can we go back to our admin and say, you know, this is really great. We should be investing in this as a college and deploying this in all the different programs. Their answer, of course, is going to be, does it work? Should we actually be investing in it? So we did this research to try to look at that. So what we really found is that it works in one interesting way, in that it gets students very excited about the subject matter. And that's almost like if you can get someone through the door, that's the beginning. And so I think it's really useful for that as well. So that's the end. We did a lot in the last 2 years. So much more I could tell you about, but those are our very first results, and we're kind of happy that we actually got some results. Sure, I think you're first.
Thank you. Your experience is very interesting. My question is, did you control for the novelty effect? Because, you know, if it's the first time that students use technology, and you are measuring motivation.
No, we didn't control for that. It was all volunteer based. We did do another set of surveys with the same students asking these kinds of questions, so we can probably tease that out. So it'll say, like, how experienced are you with VR? Do you use it in your personal life? Do you know about, have you ever built a virtual world? There's a lot of questions in that other survey. So we probably could tease that out, but we didn't include it here. back there.
Yeah, so one issue I see with motivation and with the question my question that you were using here, is that it doesn't distinguish between, is it motivation to learn the topic or is it motivation to use the advice?
Yeah.
I think it's worded in the, like, did you enjoy the task or something? But you can't really, I mean, both part of the task, the learning and the using the device. Did you find anything in your in the more qualitative things that you did that could give some indication of is this actually motivation about the topic or?
Yeah, and I think that will come out of the future analysis because we're just doing the preliminary here. But one thing that we did learn or did hear from students was that using the immersive 3D to learn anatomy, they could see the relationships between structures. So the first ones are doing neural anatomy, so of the brain. So they were literally zooming into the brain, moving around. You could see how the optic nerves were connected in. So the students did say they got a better sense of where things were in relation to each other.
So.
Oh, sorry.
Only one kind of privilege we have a dome and we're able to do consulting fields on that. Do you think that it was translate well as a professor teaching in a setting like that to be able to zoom in and add things to stuff?
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be great. Have like a theater, everybody's around. Actually, we did that with 3D Organon when we were doing our demos. We'd have everybody in there at once and somebody's controlling the the model so that we can all see the same thing.
I had two easy yes, no questions. The survey that you used, has that been evaluated for reliability?
Yeah, I don't have the exact reference for you right on the slides, but I could get that for you. But yeah, it's from a pre-used one that's found in the literature for intrinsic motivation.
Okay, got it. And the other one, when you said that you gave the headsets to students, did you ship those or did they like?
Yeah, we shipped those. Yeah, they could either pick it up in person or we ship them. And then I forget what we used, the stick we used to get them back. There was what did they do?
So yeah, at the beginning of the pandemic, we shipped headsets out. Remarkably, they all came back. We did this with several other programs as well, and they all came back. Both, as a the marketing and another person, but we have a policy with all media where when a student closes something, they sign a contract, and if they don't return it, the school withholds their marks.
Yeah, they don't get their marks.
Yeah, so they can't graduate. The only downside is if a student involves in anatomy class and they drop out before the end of the semester, it's careless whether they get their marks or not. So they're going to be sold on the headset. We had two of those students and they both returned the headsets.
We tried to incentivize them as well to finish the surveys by if you did finish all the surveys, you got entered in a draw to win your own headsets. That seemed to be a good motivator, but the students actually didn't care. Some of them already had their own or whatever. So like, yeah, whatever.
I'm in a similar situation with shipping and all that stuff and trying to figure the whole thing out. Did you send like shipping labels so that they could ship it back, or was it on them?
Yeah, that's what we did.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, and packaging that they can use to
Very good. Thank you.
We have time for one more question.
Yeah.
Calling a quick question. So I also ship headsets to my students and they're actually responsible to pay the money and ship it back to me. And I have had no issues with it. So,
Really?
So
Great, thank you.
that's working. But Jamie, a question that you
Yeah.
brought up about in the future, making it a part of the assignment so that they need to do the activity and possibly even the survey. But then how does it work with research ethics? like because they always want to know students have choice. So
Well, that's a really good question because navigating our REV was a challenge. But if you had it as a part of a course where every student had this as one of their modules, where they had to do it to get the marks, then every student is doing it. And I think that sort of gets around the ethics issue. As part of the, what they're obligated to do in a particular course.
Okay, thanks. Let's continue around the applause.